On this episode of Exactly How, we're going to show you exactly how to invest in multifamily, how to have brokers bringing you the best deals, and how to easily analyze any deal so you can find that life-changing multifamily deal on this episode of Exactly How.
You're listening to the Exactly How podcast, where you'll hear the underground, closely guarded wealth-building secrets of successful people around the globe. Discover exactly how to improve your mental, physical, and financial health. Feel better, make more money, live, give, and prosper in today's exciting, fast-paced world filled with opportunity for those who know exactly how.
Hello, welcome to the Connected Investors Exactly How podcast. During this episode, you're going to discover exactly how to exceed in multifamily investing. For those of you who are new, my name is Ross Hamilton, today's host and CEO of ConnectedInvestors.com. Today we have the privilege to learn from a guy who started with nothing and now is a self-made millionaire. He owns hundreds and hundreds of units, maybe 1,000 at this point in his career. I'm sure he'll dive into that. But prior to his career as a real estate investor, he was a landscaper. And all of that changed when he realized if something didn't change, he would stay broke his entire life. I would describe our guest as a very creative thinker. His name is Dave Lindahl, and today he's going to explain exactly how to succeed in multifamily investing. Dave, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Hey, Ross, what's going on? It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, before we jump in to how to succeed as a multifamily investor, you contribute a lot of your success to staying physically fit and being a triathlete. I mean, why do you think this has played such a big role in your success?
Well, to be a triathlete, to do an Ironman, which is a 146-mile race, takes discipline. So in anything in life, to be successful, it takes discipline. And discipline's all about doing something when you don't want to do it. So I just carry that over to all the other aspects of my life.
Yeah. No, that little quote about discipline is important. It's doing the things you have to do, even when you don't feel like it. And as a triathlete myself, there's so many Saturday mornings you wake up and you're like, oh man, I really don't feel like riding my bike for 5 hours today.
In the rain.
But in the rain, but you got to push through. So actually, Dave and I are both fellow athletes, and I love hiring athletes as well because they have that drive, that discipline in their heart to kind of push through, to set a goal and do it, right?
Especially if they play team sports.
Yeah.
Those are the best. That's association.
Good point.
Put around you.
Yeah. Well, everyone, what makes the Exactly How Financial Freedom podcast very unique is every show comes with detailed action plans. And we're going to lay out the steps to everything we're going to cover here today. You're going to have everything you need, and you can access this all by visiting exactlyhow.com. Our guest here, Dave, has some fantastic gifts he's going to give you. So I know a lot of times you might want to take notes. You don't have to worry about that. It's all at exactlyhow.com, the detailed action plan. You can rewatch this. Anything you need will be right there. In addition, you can get entered into a drawing to win access to the pre-MLS. This is how anyone can find properties for pennies on the dollar. We sell the software for $3,000, but today someone's going to get it for free. In just a few moments, we're going to announce the winner of that. So, Dave, before we dive in and start peeling back each step of getting into multifamily investing, can you just explain what multifamily investing really means? Is that a duplex or is that an apartment complex? How do you define it?
Well, it's anything more than one unit, actually. So it goes from duplex all the way up to a multi-property deal that could be up to, my biggest deal was 1,400 units.
1,400 units in one deal.
So the intro you said I might have got up to 1,000 units. We actually get up to over 8,000 units.
8,000, yeah.
We sold off a bunch. We sold off 5,000 units a few years ago.
Good time to do that.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you had 8,000. I mean, it only takes one big deal like that to become financially free forever.
Yeah, it does. The best thing is once you learn how to do that deal and understand, then you can duplicate it, and you can duplicate it again and again. And not only do you set yourself free, but you start setting the next generations free. We call that legacy wealth.
Yeah, it's funny. Probably now when you're purchasing multifamily investments, you're saying, hey, I'm buying this one for my daughter. I'm buying this one for my daughter's daughter.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We look at properties, legacy properties. One of the things we started doing early on was to get the money to fund our deals through family offices. And their whole philosophy is they didn't want to, like, I'm a emerging market investor. I go to markets that I know are moving, and I plan on being in there for 3 to 5 years. When I was trying to get money from these folks, they were like, no, we want to hold these properties for 20 or 30 years. We want to pass these down to the next generation and maybe even the next generation after that. And that started changing my mindset. So that's the way we look at properties now. It's like, okay, so is this the type of property that we can pass down? Can we hold it? Can we bring our investors into the deal, then eventually buy them out of the deal and hold on to that property and pass it on?
Yeah, I mean, multifamily investing in 1,800 unit, property is really the final frontier, and where everyone who flips houses would love to be. So if you're actively flipping houses, great. This is going to be a fantastic podcast. Dave is the person to learn from in this particular field, and let's move you that direction really quick. If you're brand new, start there. You don't have to start flipping houses before you start doing multifamily. Isn't that correct, Dave?
Yeah, that's what I did. I didn't know that you were supposed to start with single family, so I went right into multi. I saw an interview with Harry Helmsley from New York City. He started with nothing, started buying apartment buildings, and ended up owning the Empire State Building. I thought, wow, if what he said is true, that would be a game changer for me. So I went out and tried it, and it was true.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of hook back to some past podcasts, we did a fantastic podcast with individuals who built skyscrapers in New York, and someone who talked about some of the market timing things that really play an important role when you're starting to do some of these strategies. So you can review some of the old podcasts there to kind of break down those philosophies. So Dave, someone's listening to this podcast. They're like, yes, I'm sick of dealing with these small little houses. I want to get into an apartment complex deal, a bigger deal. I'm going to ask one question before we start breaking down the steps, because I remember, gosh, man, this might have been 10 years ago. I bumped into you at an event somewhere right when I first started connecting investors. And I was so excited to see you there, because so many of my mentors had actually learned from you. And I said, I really want to get into apartments, but there's just no apartment complexes in my area. And how would you respond? I remember what you said, but how would you respond to someone who is using that as an excuse?
Well, they're everywhere. You haven't set your paradigm yet to see them. But every place in the country has multifamily, because that's where people start out. That's where they typically live. They rent. Now, sure, there are some areas that have a smaller number of larger properties, but every area has a ton of the smaller 3 to 6 unit properties.
So even if someone lives in like a farm town, they could potentially buy and sell these bigger properties outside of their own town. You don't have to do this in your own town.
No, absolutely not. No. So you can do this in your own backyard. We teach the emerging market philosophy, and that is to buy where the markets are giving you the best return. But we also teach to start in your own backyard and get the experience there while you may be looking at an emerging market to invest in, and then move that experience to that emerging market, and that will make you a lot more effective. And you certainly don't have to live in the particular town. I mean, the 5,000 units that I talked about that we sold a few years ago, they're all down in Texas, and I live in Boston.
Great.
So it's all a matter of mindset. There's some people, they want to be able to control everything, so they have to live close. Well, that's fine, but I always tell people like that is like, buy a property that's 1,000 miles away, and then you can't control it by going there. You have to rely on your team, and it's all about team building and putting the right people on your team, and they'll be your eyes and ears, and everybody benefits from the success of that particular property. But you don't have to. I mean, we teach people how to go and get bigger properties, but we also teach them how to start out and get the smaller ones too. Because I used to teach how to buy 100 unit properties and only 100 unit plus properties, and then I realized that people wanted that, but subconsciously they were afraid of that. So subconsciously they were stopping themselves from doing the things that they needed to do to be successful, because they were afraid of buying that first deal. So I learned that it's not the size of the property that matters when you get started. What matters is that you get started and then you start moving from there, because you build it whatever property type or number of units you get started at. You start building confidence at that level, and that confidence just springboards you into bigger and bigger deals, if that's what you want. We've got some students. We just had a big event last weekend called Ultimate Partnering, and I've got some students here that came in, and they own 54 3 to 6 unit properties, and they've been comfortable doing that in their own backyard their entire career, and they're not interested in bigger. And he just built a $3 million addition to his church, which he was very proud of. He got one of our Give Back awards. So, you can make it big, you can make it small. It doesn't matter. Just do what you're comfortable, but get started.
Yeah. And you see what happens when you get started? You get to help other people as well. That's a really exciting story. It's not just about you. It's about you getting off your, getting out of your own way, getting out there and doing it, making some money and giving back to people that aren't as lucky as you in this world.
It's like, the airplane oxygen mask. They always tell you put the oxygen mask on you first, and then put it on the person next to you. But so you got to take care of yourself first. You financially take care of yourself, and then boom, you've got all this additional income coming in, and then you can take a look around. First, you usually take care of your family, and then you got even more income, and you start looking at the different causes that you really want to get involved in. It's really great.
Yeah. All right, Dave. So someone's listening to this. They're watching this perhaps on our YouTube channel, and they're like, this is exciting. I want to start investing in multifamily properties. What would you say the 3 steps are for someone to get started?
Well, first you got to find the deals. Then you've got to analyze the deals, and then you got to fund those deals. You get those 3 done, and you're doing deals.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and break into the first step, finding multifamily deals in this hyper-competitive market. Dave, how does someone go about that?
There are many different ways where you can find multifamily deals. We always teach to cast a big net and then let the deals trickle in from many different sources instead of trying to go after just one particular source. But I can tell you from my years of experiences, there are 2 sources that will bring you the biggest results. And number 1 is your relationships with brokers, and number 2 is direct mail. And I'll focus on relationships with brokers because typically it takes about 4 months to establish a relationship with a broker before they'll start giving you deals that make sense. And then it may even take longer. But most people quit after the first month or 2 months when they're not getting the deals. When they're getting deals that just don't make sense, they're just on the broker's list, but the broker really doesn't know who they are. So I've learned through my experience is that the faster you can create commonality with a broker, which means the faster that you can find out what you share in common with that broker, what you're both passionate about, that does not have to do with real estate. And then you talk about those things first. Whenever you have conversations with the broker, you send them things that you're both passionate about, whether it be fishing, cooking, gardening, whatever. And then that's how your conversations begin. Then you start creating a friendship. And then people like to do business with people that they like and that they trust. You'll soon become trusted, and then you move up on their list, and you can cut that 4 months down to 2 months. And that's what it's all about. Whenever a student comes to me and says, Dave, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do, my first question is, tell me about your best broker relationship. What was the last thing you talked about? And I'm trying to determine whether or not they've started establishing relationships, because that's where it all begins and ends with that. And
that's a really great takeaway. Having an actual real relationship. In today's world, everyone's so email list oriented. It's just all about the numbers, it's all about quantity, not about quality. And what you just heard from Dave was, get some quality relationships with some good brokers in town and build a real relationship with them.
I had a couple of sisters sitting here in my office and talking about, they're a mastermind of mine, and they were talking about how they were struggling, to get deals. And one of them was really good at talking with brokers, and the other one was really good at analyzing. So the one that talking with brokers would send over the deals. And she says, I analyze and I analyze and I analyze, but nothing really comes through. And I said, well, what do you have in common with those brokers? What are the things that, that you guys like to do best? Who's your best broker? And she couldn't really mention anything. She was just prideful in the fact that she was getting on all these lists, and she was handing all these opportunities to underwrite to her sister, but nothing was coming of it. So it's like, all right, turn your focus around, focus on quality instead of quantity. And they did. And it started working. One of the things I'll tell a student is in their own backyard, I call it have a lunch with a broker. For the next 3 months, every week, have lunch with a different broker. And I promise you, by the end of that 3 months, and you pay for the lunch, I promise you at the end of those 3 months, you will have a deal. No, I have not lost that challenge yet.
That's a great takeaway right there. And you get to go visit a lot of great places to have lunch.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a book like Never Eat Alone?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, and it's about every day having that lunch meeting set up. So many people, they get inside their own head and they sit there and they're on their computer and they're like, I have to figure this out. But getting out there, whether it's having lunch with people, having drinks with people, talking to people, just around your community, however you interact, however you feel comfortable, that's not wasting time.
It's getting face to face. That's how we met at a networking event.
Yeah, exactly. And we share a lot of different things in commons, from our family to our our goals and all the triathlons and stuff we do. So that's why I consider you a friend more than
Yeah,
just a business colleague.
because we have so many commonalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So you said broker. That's great. Never eat alone. Direct mail.
Yeah.
Like, what type of lists do you usually advise people to go after?
You go to your assessor's office in your local community and at the town or city hall, and then ask them for the 2 to 4 family list, because those are the residential multifamily, and then the 4+ unit list, and the 5+, and that will cover all commercial properties up to 1,000 units. And then and decide which you want to go after, and then mail. We've got a mailing campaign that it's every month, every other month you're mailing to a particular owner. You're always looking for the non-owner occupied. So you look at you take a look at your list, you start to segment it, and it's those people where the tax bill is going somewhere other than the property. Mm-hmm. So it's non-owner occupied. There's probably some pain attached. So we write letters, that talks about the pain, because if you're not doing it properly, tenants are paying properly. Tenants are a pain, collecting rents are a pain. All these different things become issues that are easily solved when you have good management companies working for you. One thing we teach our investors is to be an investor and not a property manager. Hand it off to a property manager, your property, and you go. Your role is to go out and get more deals, build that business. Every particular property is a new business, so have a manager manage that business for you as you move forward.
That's a good quote right there. Every property is a new business. And that's actually the second time I've heard that this month. And I 100% agree with that, because it has its own P&L.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It has its own P&L, has its own employees, has its own culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. And this is actually perfect timing, Dave, because I'm about to announce the winner of our software. And inside our software, you can actually find every multifamily property with out-of-town owners by clicking 2 buttons. Dave, you gotta let me show you this thing. And then you have the list right there, and you can send direct mail, or you can actually pick up the phone and call them, because we even have phone numbers for some of those people. So that's why this software is so important, whether you're multifamily or single family. So the winner of the $3,000 software this week is David Day. David, congratulations. David went to exactlyhow.com to pick up the show notes. He threw his name in the hat. He subscribed to our YouTube channel and our podcast, and now he's walking away with a $3,000 software, and he can actually start to implement some of this things we're talking about right here on this call right now. So congratulations, David. We'll definitely be in touch with you shortly. So finding the deals, 2 fantastic strategies. Do them both. Lunch with brokers. Figure out how to play the data game, right? That's what we're all about here. The second thing you talked about was analyzing the properties. So now now these properties are coming in, everything's working, and you're like, what do I do? Yeah,
so there's 2 steps to analyzing. The first quick step we do is use a simple formula. We'll take the yearly income, and write this down. We'll take the yearly income from the property. We'll subtract the yearly expenses, and that will give us what's called the net operating income. The net operating income is the holy grail of multifamily investing. This is what you will base the value of the property on, because you'll take that net operating income and you'll multiply it by 10, and that should give you the value of the property. So if you're looking at a property, and let's say that you did this formula and it came up to $500,000 as the value of the property. If they're trying to sell it for more, it's probably overvalued. If they're trying to sell it for less, then it may be undervalued. I say maybe because there's certainly other steps involved in the process. Mm-hmm. So if you get something that's either around the price, a little bit higher or a little bit lower, or much lower, then it's time to take the next step and do some more analysis. So that's the first hoop it jumps through. What we're trying to eliminate are the people that are just looking for way too much money for their property, so we don't have to waste time. The faster you can kick out bad deals, the more deals that you can churn. And when you're first starting out, it usually takes about 20 properties to underwrite before you get one that really works. As you get better and start working commonality and better direct mail, that ratio gets lower and lower, which is good. But the next step is to actually do some analysis with some software. And we look for 3 important ratios: the capitalization rate, the debt coverage ratio, and the cash on cash return. So each one of these ratios covers an important person in the deal. The capitalization rate covers you as the investor, because it tells you what the return is on the property that you're going to get. The cash on cash return tells you what your private money investors, the other people that you're bringing into the deal, if you bring them in, what they're going to get, what return they're going to get for the money that they're bringing in. And they're looking for over a certain amount. And typically what I found is if you can offer private money investor an 8% cash on cash return, then they will want to open their wallet and help fund your deal. And then the third is the debt coverage ratio. And that's what the bank looks at. They want to know how many times your cash flow is going to cover your mortgage payment. And they look for a ratio of about a 1.25. But in order for a deal to work where you can get 25% of the cash flow and the 25% of the proceeds at the sale of the deal, by putting no money down and bringing in private investors, the cap rate needs to be an 8+. You want to write this down if you're listening. The cap rate needs to be an 8+. The cash on cash return needs to be 12+. So that gives you 4 and the investor gets 8. And then the debt coverage ratio needs to be a 1.6. Those three things combined, when they align, we call that the holy trinity, because we know that's a deal that we can do and it meets our numbers and we're going to get 25% of that deal. If those numbers are better, then we can carve out more. Maybe we can get a 30-70 split or a 40-60. Once you start getting good at doing these deals, you'll require a higher split. You won't do any deals that are less than a 40-60 split typically. But to get involved, you may take as little as 25% to start getting your feet wet. That's how you underwrite.
That's how you underwrite. Now, a 40-60 split. Can you explain who are we splitting this with?
We're splitting, and that's the next step. Funding. Do you want me to get into that?
Yeah, let's go and talk about funding.
All right. So funding, the majority of the funding is going to come from what's called senior debt, and those are your lenders. So you'll get anywhere from 70 to 80% from the lenders. Now the other, let's say you're getting 80% from the lender. So the other 20% is going to come from you or your private money investors. So we teach how to get private money investors into your deals. So they bring in 20% of the money to make up for what the senior debt doesn't. And then they also make up for the closing costs. So typically your closing costs are going to be 3% of your purchase price. If you've got a $1 million deal, it's at $30,000 for closing costs. And then there's what's called the acquisition fee. So for actually learning how to bring the deal to the table, bring the money to the table, the investors to the table, the investors, it's industry standard in our business that the investors pay you an acquisition fee anywhere from 3 to 5%. So being conservative, if it was again, a $1 million deal and you were getting a 3% acquisition fee, you get $30,000 for doing that deal. That the investors are putting it together, which is nice. And they put that money in the pot. So when they put the money in the pot and your ratios work that you can get a 40-60 split, when that property cash flows the very next month, you get 40% of the profits and they get 60% of the profits. And that happens month after month after month until you sell the property. Once that property is sold, then you get 40% of the profits of the sale and they get 60% of the profits of the sale. It's a pretty good deal by not putting any money in and just by learning how to actually put the deal together and put the investors.
I actually talked with someone a while back who said she didn't understand that she could charge that fee up front.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And she looked back and she's like, man, I left $1 million on the table, all those deals I did. So that was a great takeaway right there for anyone who's getting into this that,
Listen to how I found out about it. So I'm on about my 7th deal, right? So I'm talking to an investor and I'm going through the numbers and he says, all right, well, what's the acquisition fee? And I didn't know what he was talking about, but I didn't want to tell him that I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I was like, the usual. He says, 3%? And I was like, yeah. And I'm thinking, so through the rest of the presentation, I'm thinking, what's the 3% of? What is this acquisition fee? So I finished the presentation. I call my mentor and I said, Mark, what is an acquisition fee? He says, that's what the investors pay you for putting the deal together. I said, what is it a percentage of? He said, it's a percentage of the purchase price. I said, so if I'm doing a $1 million deal, I get 3%, they're going to pay me $30,000 at the closing for putting the deal together? He said, yeah. I said, yeah. So that was my first of many, many acquisition fees.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great. So Dave, I think you did a great job kind of breaking this down. And at exactlyhow.com, if you guys were listening to this and you couldn't take notes, if you're watching this, you should have definitely been taking notes. But if you were listening, you couldn't take notes, we're going to make sure to pull all of that great information out, put it at exactlyhow.com. This way you can start implementing it. And Dave, can you explain a little bit about the free gift that you're going to give everyone and what they can find there?
Yeah. When you go to davesfreegift.com, it's the latest book that I've written. It's called the Multifamily Manifesto. And that shows you how to get started investing in multifamilies. We cover these 3 steps. We also cover the other smaller steps that you need to do to be successful in getting started and creating cash flow for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I mean, what do you think your life would be like if you just said, you know what, I'm fine with being a landscaper. I'm just going to, kick back and relax and shut off. I mean, what do you think your life would be like if you never made the jump into real estate?
That's a good question. I've never had that question posed before, but most people lead a life of struggle. I was a landscaper and I was making decent money at the time. This is 22 years ago when I had that business, maybe even more now. And I thought $50,000 a year was great. I was making $51,000 a year, and I thought, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Especially 20 years ago.
Yeah. But I was still living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I hadn't, and I was still having the credit card bills coming in. So I think I would still be living a life of struggle. When I started investing in real estate, and that 50,000 jumped to 300,000, and I would wake up. I was on a powerlifting team, and I would wake up in the morning and I would go to the gym, and my cousin was there as well, and he was a CFO for a company. He was like the junior CFO. And one day he was telling me how excited he was because the CFO just quit. And he thought him and the other guy that worked hand in hand with the same title, they thought they were going to be able to split what he got and they'd get a raise. And he was making $85,000. I said, well, how much was the CFO making? He said, $157,000. I said, how old was he? He said, 62. I thought, holy crap! Here I am, 30 years in real estate, making over 300,000, and that guy was 62 and he was making 157. I thought, I made the right move. I made the right change in my life.
I don't think I've ever talked to anyone that's ever really regretted getting into real estate, even if they've lost money. At the end of the day, when they look back at their life, it was always the right decision. And, they're always very, very happy that they have this trade. Like once you understand how to structure these deals, it's a skill you have forever. Yeah. And you can always use, you can always go to, you always have something to fall back on.
The best part about multifamily real estate is you can quote unquote come and go as you please or live where you want, because the properties are where they are. They can be anywhere in the United States, even the world, but primarily the United States. You can have a management team managing that property, and you can live wherever you want as the revenues continue to come in, and you can oversee the management through the internet, through the software that the management company is using. So and then you can stop buying for a while, and maybe take 6 or 8 months off and do what you want to do. Maybe go have some kids, raise a family, whatever, go around the world trip. And then you can, and the cash flow will still come in, It's not like you just sold off everything. It's not like a single family flip where you have to keep flipping to make money. And then you come back into it, and then you can start buying again, and you start increasing your cash flow again. And at the same time, your equity has gotten bigger because your tenants have paid off, your mortgage, or paying down your mortgage as you're taking that time off. It's a great business.
Yeah, exactly. While you're making money while you're sleeping, literally. And it's an asset that keeps building in value. So anyone out there who's been flipping and they're working really hard, if you haven't made the steps to start getting into multifamily, today's definitely the day for that. Visit exactlyhow.com. We're going to have links right to Dave's book and more information on how you can work with Dave right there. Dave, can we go over the rapid fire section now? I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
First thing that comes to your mind, just to learn a little bit about you. Scale of 1 to 10. How strict were your parents?
6.
You get up early or stay up late?
Early bird.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
6.
Favorite or last book you read?
My favorite book was The Talisman by the horror writer Stephen King.
Oh, nice.
But I read business books constantly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading 2 of them right now.
I'm surprised you didn't mention your own books. I've had to tell many authors to say, outside of your book. Outside of your book. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
Superman, because he has X-ray vision.
There you go. If you could, something you think everyone should do less of?
Watch TV.
Something you think everyone should do more of?
Work out.
Will people live on Mars in your lifetime?
Possibly, yes.
Bitcoin, bang or bust?
Bang.
All right. Dave, thank you so very much for sharing exactly how to succeed in multifamily investing. I believe that this is going to be a very good wake-up call for a lot of people that are on the line that have been in residential, or people that are trying to get into residential. Skip to the front of the line. Get right into multifamily right now. You made it to the end of the show. That is fantastic. Successful people finish what they start. Successful people are not the smartest people. They just procrastinate the least. You made it to the end of the show, which means you found value in this. If you can please share this show, like this show, subscribe, comment, ask us questions. We do this for free. We spend a lot of time, energy, and effort to bring you this type of content, to pull from my network the best people I know to help you be the best person you can be. So make sure to interact with us. It goes a long way. Dave, thanks again for being on the call.
My pleasure, Ross. Good to see you again.
The Connected Investors app connects you with investors, notifies you of available properties, helps locate cash buyers, and secure private funding to close deals. Set up in seconds to become a member of the Connected Investors social network. Now you can scroll through your main feed to find cash buyers, see investment properties not available to the general public, and network with investors by adding your own comments to a thread to keep the conversation going. The Control Center is your connection to add properties to sell, start new discussions, connect with local investors, and even find private funding. The Notifications tab will keep you alerted to new investment properties and offers. You'll also find new friend requests to connect directly with the community to build your network. From the property marketplace, you'll be able to find, favorite, and make offers on investment properties. Download Connected Investors today to find, figure, fund, and flip investment properties on the go.